Dear Reddit, what is the fastest you have ever seen a new co-worker get fired? He was escorted out by security on his second day, and promptly delivered to waiting police officers. About 5 of them. He'd apparently beaten his wife pretty severely and then just left for work like no big deal. Never thought that they'd come looking for him, co-worker. Smoked like every 40 minutes for like 10 minutes. Then asked the boss if he could leave an hour early because he didn't take his lunch break. As my boss said, sure you can. But you don't need to come back. New guy started at work, a bar. Seemed pretty cool. 3 days later we were all sitting around having an end of shift drink when the manager calls the new guy into the office and fires him. New guy isn't 21 yet. Why would you drink at work when the manager damn well knows your age? Guy got hired, while going through orientation realized that his ex-girlfriend worked the too, turned around and walked right out the front door. My man worked in a grocery store for a while. New guy took a lobster out of the tank and removed the elastic bands on its claws, then proceeded to put it back in the tank. The thing murdered all the other lobsters in the tank. During their onboarding training, they stole my boss's wallet on camera. 1 hour in, guy slept through 2 meetings on his first day. The second meeting he started snoring. Moving company, Midwest. Most people didn't make it through the first week. They will hire literally anyone who can pass a drug test. Turnover was really bad, but I guess that's the nature of the job. I'll never forget Jeremy. Jeremy was 18, did not apply for colleges, so his parents made him get a job. He was hired as a mover, as is everyone. He shows up the first day to roll call in a full suit and tie asking where his desk is. This was a group full of former convicts, high school dropouts, and generally rough dudes trying to make a living. We laughed so hard. Jeremy went right back home. Next day, Jeremy's mom shows up to give the manager a piece of her mind. We laughed even harder. Oh, I've got one for this. I was hired to do tech support in a call center. On our first day of training there were about 30 of us in a room and we each had our own computer. The instructor said it was okay to use the computer for personal stuff during downtime, but the only rules were no games and no porn. One guy got fired before lunchtime, because he just couldn't resist the porn. A week. I worked in a bar and a new girl started. At work, she seemed a little rough but was fine. One day she finished a shift, sat at the bar and ordered a red wine with lemonade and ice in it. Not really relevant to the story, just shows she is clearly insane. Her boyfriend came in. They had a huge domestic in front of my manager and several customers, and she threw her drink over her BF and dramatically stormed out. New bar drink. Wine plus lemonade equals a domestic. New guy drove a forklift into a fire hydrant, in front of a safety rep for the company. His supervisor was called over, and he immediately tells the supervisor that he won't pass a piss test, as he used his only bottle of clean piss earlier that day when he hired in. Everybody standing there immediately burst into laughter, which continued as security, also laughing, escorted him off site. Even the supervisor was all smiles. Just gave him a pat on the back and wished him the best of luck. It was wild. She was hired because the manager thought she was hot. Turned out she was 15 and unable to actually work there. As a teenager, I worked at a bowling alley. Within an hour, a new girl was fired on the spot for dropping a ball on the foot of a complaining patron. New director starts, at lunchtime goes to cafeteria, pays for the first salad plate by weight, then goes back twice for refills without paying. Cafeteria has cameras. Cafeteria manager talks to the partner in charge. New director fired before the end of day. Corporate chain restaurant. New server, aged mid-30s. Third day he was working, we had to fire him mid-shift. Why? Dude went into the public restrooms, with other guests clearly in the using the urinal, and started doing lines of blow-off on the edge of the sink. Why not just do it in the back with the cooking staff like everyone else? I work construction. We had 2 new hires that were friends starting the same day. Boss told one take a coffee order and come back. Took everyone's money and said he needed his friend to go with him cause it was a big hoarder. They never came back. First day of work, he walks in. Says what the fuck is up dumbass to the guy that parked next to, didn't touch, his new Camaro he bought since he got hired. The guy was the CEO of the company I used to work for, on visit to our branch. Literally 10 minutes into his shift he was signing release papers. A 19-year-old kid got hired to work the seafood counter. See him twice and then never again. Asked a coworker what happened. He had closed seafood one night and was walking out of the store, and the 5 pounds of crab legs he'd stuffed down the back of his pants fell out in front of the closing manager. Heard this from a manager I worked with when I worked in fast food. There was this one kid who didn't show up for work. He ditched work often, so the manager called around. Couldn't get anyone to fill in his shift, so she had to fill it for him. A few hours into his shift, the dude ditching shows up, with his friends, and orders food from that manager. She fired him on the spot. Congratulations, you've been promoted to a customer. Didn't like the boss and on the first day took a piss in the gas tank of his Jeep. Bragged about it and it was recorded too.